What's up, everybody? This is the podcast shout out for our anniversary episode. We're going to give a shout out to another film analysis podcast, not unlike our own, and that would be the Casual Cinecast. They actually do some pretty highbrow analysis of all kinds of different films, from Criterion movies to even the biggest blockbusters that came out recently. Like, I think they just did an episode on Glass, and it's pretty interesting, so definitely check them out. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also find them on Facebook and on Twitter. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for this first year of podcasting with Collateral Cinema. We had a lot of fun making this. We are definitely going to have some really, really, really interesting stuff coming out in the future. And also check out our Patreon. We are currently about to put some new content on there, and also we're going to make another commentary for the Podbean patrons, so keep an eye out for those, and be sure to join us at the $1 or $5 levels. So with all of that said, thank you for this first year of podcasting, 2018 to 2019, and with that, on with the show. I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Dakota Chancellor.
This is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420-friendly podcast. So whatever you have, be it dabs, blunts, joints, bongs, whatever, smoke it if you've got it, vape it if you've got it, and ladies and gentlemen, this is our anniversary episode. Woo!
Nice.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Oh, not much. How's everybody doing?
Oh, awesome, man. Doing awesome.
Dakota.
That's fucking great.
Hell yeah.
Too much.
Too much?
College, bro. It's killing me.
Yeah. Damn.
Fucking college.
You're still going
It's
to school.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually pretty busy nowadays. We're doing at least 3 podcasts now.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of which are officially under the Collateral name. And it's been quite an interesting year for us. Honestly, like we started this podcast with just a single mic. It was Robert, me, Joseph Cantu, and Frankie Avila.
Yeah.
Who, honestly, we would love to have them back on the show here pretty soon.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they had some interesting input to put in on certain movies and everything that they were on.
Yeah, especially the Halloween episode. I don't think Joseph was there, right?
I don't think Joseph was there. It was pretty much just you, me, and Frankie, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've listened to some of the old podcasts before I jumped in, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were. I mean, you can definitely hear the evolution of our sound a little bit, because midway through like the first quarter of last year, that was when I got the new microphones and everything. We were still recording in my bedroom at the time. We are in our own dedicated studio now, but it was kind of cramped, but it was still a lot of fun.
Did
honestly.
the job.
Yeah.
It did the job. We even recorded a couple of commentaries up in there.
Your dog
Yeah.
barking all the time, too.
Oh, yeah. Shut up, Ichi. And also other interruptions.
Yeah, before we got our Section 9 studio set up.
Oh, yeah, Section 9 Studios. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a podcast, or if you have any type of editing that you want done, or if you're in the South Texas area, you want a studio to record at, come to Section 9 Studios. We have very, very reasonable rates.
Hit us up. But
Yeah.
you realize even if you say South Texas area, that's a huge section.
Oh, yeah. We're in the hill country, people.
That way they can't find us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the hill country.
You say South Texas, but that could still include something 4 hours away.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, they can just DM us if they want directions. If they want to book us and get directions, they can just DM us or email or whatever. I don't know.
Gas fare not included. That's a good one.
It was funny.
Damn it. Well, since our pilot episode focused on Takashi Miike's audition, we decided that pretty much every anniversary episode from here on out is going to be a Takashi Miike movie, and there's a fucking lot of them, man. Like, this man made over 100 movies in less than 25 years. It's out there, man.
That's impressive. Yeah.
I mean, that's some work ethic.
It's just insane.
I mean,
It's crazy.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into making movies. Like, even at a independent level, I mean, you have a lot of planning. You still have to write scripts, write screenplays. You have to go scouting locations and all that. But Takashi Miike, his approach to cinema is such a labor of love and it comes out in all of his works. I mean, from the smallest little movie that he did, like Visitor Q, which was done on a very, very cheap budget, all the way up to some of his more recent fare, which are pretty much like Japanese blockbusters. Like, you guys showed us As the Gods Will, which is one of his that's one of his more recent movies. Y'all want to elaborate on that one?
Oh goodness! I watched that up in Pennsylvania. I was visiting my uncle there, and he showed me that. It was a good watch. It was one of the first like Japanese movies I'd really ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, because I hadn't really gotten into that genre yet, and my uncle showed me it, and I was just like, I didn't know what to say. You know, I was taken aback because there was so much blood, so much like extremities that weren't necessary.
Yeah, but in that movie, it's all very stylized because it's related to Japanese children's games and everything. So, I mean, the violence, while it's pretty gruesome in that movie, it's also very tempered by the overall tone of the movie. It's a playful movie.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost playful in a way like the movie we are focusing on today.
Yeah, if you like As the Gods Will, you'll like Ichi the Killer.
Ichi the Killer.
Ichi the Killer.
This was Takashi Miike's breakout hit right here, guys. I mean, I think Audition came out before. I think that came out in like 99, 2000. But this movie right here is what a lot of people actually heard about Takashi Miike and really, really heard about him in a mainstream sense. You know, which is kind of weird because this has cult film written all over it. I mean, especially with just how cartoonish the violence is and, you know, just all the overtones of rape and loss and, like, addiction.
They could inspired Heath Ledger's character, right, too.
Oh, yeah, Kakihara.
The Joker. Yeah.
There is definitely a little bit of a parallel there. Like, I mean, that's without question, I think.
And with the exaggerated gore and the violence, reminds me of anime. You know, any anime or manga fan here.
Well, it came from a manga,
right? And I was just about to bring that up.
It's like Rikyo in that sense, actually.
Yeah.
And Rikyo also was another movie that was very exaggerated. So it's very interesting when you see what works in a manga or an anime exaggerated, and you see that translate to film. And it's not easy to do if you're taking the movie too seriously. But in a movie like this, especially these Japanese movies, it does work really well because it's just so over the top.
Yeah.
And that's the point of it.
And I think the other point there is that he chose a manga that's not at least at the time, it wasn't particularly well known outside of Japan.
Yeah.
You know, except in certain circles.
I had never heard of that one. And in Japan, that's known as Koroshiya Ichi.
Koroshiya Ichi. Exactly.
But it uses the Arabic numeral 1, which leads me to believe that instead of meaning Ichi the Killer, that means something more like Killer 1. So they're like playing off of Ichi's name. So that's kind of a pun that's kind of missed, I think.
Almost like it's not a name he was given. He was given a number.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Japanese language has a bunch of weird little kind of quirks with it and little kind of turns of phrases that are just centric to that.
Yeah, every language has its intricacies, and Japanese, of course, is no exception. Now, if you're a bit of an anime fan or a Japanophile, some of these, you may be more familiar with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watched anime quite a bit of my life. I was used to a lot of the stylized gore and violence, you know, a lot of the arterial sprays. I mean, that's classic manga and anime stuff, you know.
Exactly.
But also, I mean, you saw that in a lot of martial arts movies. Like, for instance, Rikyo, or even something like Shogun's Assassin, which was pretty much just Lone Wolf and Cub.
Like Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, right?
Yeah, that was just pretty much a send-up of all those different tropes and conventions of that genre.
Arterial spraying from the necks. And
yeah, but Takashi Miike's career like we said before, is massive. I mean, but he has quite a few noteworthy movies of all types of genres, really. I mean, this movie, Ichi the Killer, it's very much a horror movie, but it's also kind of satire of Yakuza tropes, kind of from, because Yakuza movies, they have a pretty storied history in Japanese film culture. In many ways, it's kind of an extension of like the Chanbari samurai films. You know, it's just kind of, and a lot of those had Yakuza in them as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I'm trying to remember if any of Kurosawa's films were focused on Yakuza. I don't really remember. I mean, that is kind of a long-standing trope in Japanese film culture, and I see that this movie is kind of an extension of that in a way. And Takashi Miike, he really got his start doing Yakuza films. Like his first movie was Shinjuku Triad Society, which actually it wasn't so much Yakuza that focused on the Chinese triad gangs.
Mostly
territories.
Triad stuff, right? Like
yeah, triad stuff. I mean, but then he started focusing on Yakuza films. He even did a weird sci-fi Yakuza movie called Full Metal Yakuza, which is it's pretty much like his send-up of RoboCop, kind of, but instead of a cop, it's a Japanese Yakuza, and he's taken in by this very weird mad scientist and turned into a cybernetic assassin, and he pretty much goes and has his revenge on his attackers. It's a straight up revenge story, but it's also very much a sci-fi movie, and yeah, true to Takashi Miike, there is definitely a rape in that.
And that sounds like a good movie.
Yeah, and it ends very badly.
So would you say Miike's film, do they have a sort of overarching trait? Because I know there's a wide variety of genres, right?
Well, I mean, depending on what genre he's doing, there are a lot of different motifs that he uses. Like one, of course, is bodily fluids like vomit and namely mother's milk, like lactation. That's something that, I mean, spoiler alert, that's something that comes up in Visitor Q, which was a very infamous movie that he did. That was done pretty much on digital for a very, very low budget, and it almost has like a found footage quality to it,
really?
Kind of. Yeah. It's kind of down that road of filmmaking. But I mean, it was very, very raw. It focused on a lot of very, very taboo subjects. Like, I mean, and it's focused on this one family who's just incredibly dysfunctional, and then this one visitor, the titular Visitor Q, he comes in and pretty much just upends their family life. And then that's all I'm going to get into, because these guys haven't seen it.
Yeah. Not yet.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen Visitor Q, you know how hard it goes. I mean, it just kind of goes right in there and goes straight to the point. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, you're just like, oh, wow, we're starting like this. It's that kind of movie.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, we've all had movies or anime that are kind of like that. Like, Robert, what kind of movie would be like that? Like, when you first saw it, like, when it really, really got to the good stuff, you were like, oh, it's this kind of movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Freddy Got Fingered.
There you go. Freddy Got Fingered. Yeah, that's more like, well, that just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can't go into detail, right, really?
Yeah, maybe not. If you want more on Freddy Got Fingered, we did an episode on it on season 1, so check it out.
Check that out. You're going to have to.
That was one of my firsts with you guys.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, definitely check out Visitor Q. I'm definitely going to show it to these guys. Another notable movie that Takashi Miike put out, it's very much his most Lynchian movie. It's very much kind of his ode to David Lynch.
David Lynch.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Japanese Eraserhead. It's called Gozu. Again, it focuses on Yakuza, but it kind of goes in a more surreal horror element than his previous Yakuza films, which were more, straight up but very stylized, but they were still straight up Yakuza films. But this movie right here, it becomes a lot more cerebral and even kind of meta in many ways. Like, it focuses on this one Yakuza dude who he has to kill his Yakuza brother. All kinds of hilarity happens. Oh man, it just becomes more mind-blowing every time I see it. And in the last 15 minutes of it, oh man, you will forever have that burned in your memory. I'm not going to spoil it, but anybody who's seen it, it's like, that's just like quite possibly one of the most original endings you'll ever see in any movie ever.
どういうこと？親父消えたんだよ。絶対見つけるから。
復讐できるんだ。
親父はどこだ？
イチってやっぱ化け物みたいなやつですね。
早くこいつに会いたいよ俺。愛がないなお前の暴力には。
Like, I wish you guys would have seen that. I mean, honestly, there were so many other Takashi Miike movies that I would have shown you first other than As the Gods Will. That's a good movie. But, I mean, I probably would have showed y'all Gozu first. Because, I mean, it's cerebral, but in some ways, it is kind of accessible.
We should be like going through your movie collection like right now.
I know, right? It makes me kind of wish that I had my DVDs up in here, you know? Because I have at least 15 Takashi Miike movies alone.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Of all kinds of different genres, you know? I mean, I even have this duo of movies called Young Thugs, and it's more of like a personal autobiographical movie focused on, I believe it's focused in Osaka. I think that's where Takashi Miike was born. I may be wrong. Correct us if we're wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But it's more of a tribute to his childhood and also to his, it's very much a coming-of-age movie. And even then, it has some scenes that reek of torture, and it's like, oh my god, man, really? Like, I mean, it's not torture; it's just like Ichi the Killer is, or Audition, but it's a scene where it's just like, oh man, what the fuck? Essentially, this dude's getting a tattoo removed, and he's getting it removed via a hot like. I forget. I want to say it was a soldering iron or something.
I don't even want to know. That sounds terrible.
But it's not like a horror movie or a Yakuza film. It's actually a very tender coming-of-age movie.
It's weird.
It's very understated in other ways. And he made a drama film called Bird People of China, which was very interesting. It has a Yakuza member in it, but it's not a Yakuza movie. It's more of like a very meditative film. And it's based in this village where all these people believe that they will eventually grow wings and fly like birds. Like they are always like flapping their wings trying to fly. But it's not what you would think it is. It's actually really, really deep and philosophical, you know? And that's the same with another movie called Izo. Izo is a movie that transcends time, death, birth, rebirth, and everything you can think of. Like, it focuses on a samurai who pretty much just goes through the afterlife, just killing and going through all of his past misdeeds and just kind of inching towards rebirth and everything. It's very, very interesting and very, very steeped in religious and political metaphor. And he has a spirit guide that sings and plays guitar.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's this Japanese folk singer, and he's really, really good, actually. Like, the songs are actually very, very memorable. And I mean, they're some of the best sequences in the movie. I mean, do y'all want to watch something like that sometime?
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll watch anything. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, that sounds like some awesome shit, right? And he had an episode on the Masters of Horror series on Showtime.
Oh,
actually,
back in the day.
but
Shit.
it was never actually aired because it was too extreme. It's called Imprint. And it stars Billy Drago, of all people. And he plays this this dude who goes back to this Japanese brothel to get his prostitute girlfriend back, and he finds out that she's missing, and he ends up hanging out with this other prostitute who is one of her fellow concubines, and it goes really off the rails really quick. I'm not even going to spoil any of it, man. I mean, there's a scene in there that is pretty, like, he really goes there with it. Once again, no taboo unturned. And it's definitely why this movie wasn't shown on Showtime. Like, can you believe that?
That's crazy.
And they show everything on Showtime.
Everything.
Yeah, seriously.
The Masters of Horror, right?
And Masters of Horror was a great series. I mean, that had like Dario Argento, Mick Garris.
Yeah.
I think Wes Craven did a couple.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Toby Hooper did one. It had a lot of great directors, actually.
A lot of great actors too, like Robert Englund.
Yeah, like Meatloaf, he had a memorable turn in one of those episodes. It was a Dario Argento directed movie called Pelts.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, Meatloaf. And he's great in it. Like, it goes pretty extreme, and it kind of brings back old school Dario Argento style, like almost giallo supernatural movie, kind of like Suspiria or Opera, Inferno. Like, I know that y'all probably have never seen Dario Argento movies.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
Never
man.
heard of it.
Honestly, if you want another movie maker that probably had an influence on Miike, like definitely Cronenberg, Lynch, and definitely him as well.
When you say Cronenberg, I just think of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. I mean, David Cronenberg, that's a great director. We'll get into him some other time. And he also has done some children's movies as well. Like, he actually did a live-action version of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
Goodness, he does everything, doesn't he?
Yeah, he adapted the Nintendo DS game.
He does
That's
everything.
badass.
Nice.
And he also did kind of a send-up of Power Rangers called Zebra Man. It's a Japanese superhero movie, essentially, but it's hilarious. And it's for kids. It's not really graphic or anything. It's just a lot of fun.
Look at my hooves.
That's not a great example. That's not a great example, man.
We said Zebra Man. It reminded me of Zebras in America.
And another one of his more interesting movies was Fudo, the New Generation, which is about this young Yakuza heir to his father's position in the clan. Actually, I don't really remember the fucking plot of that movie that well. It's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, check out Fudo, the New Generation. It has some interesting scenes. Like, there's this one chick, like, she's a stripper, and then she straight up uses a blowgun to shoot a dart through some guy's neck and just kill him.
What?
It's like, yeah, it was pretty cool. There's some pretty extreme stuff in that movie. I highly recommend it.
So Takashi Miike, he's got quite a mind, huh?
Yeah. He also did another kids movie called The Great Yokai War, which, I mean, if you know anything about Japanese yokai, you know, which are basically like different types of demons and spirits, that... it's pretty much like folklore. It's Japanese folklore.
Yokai is just like monsters.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much like a kappa. Kappa is an example of yokai.
Yeah, Kappa's a water demon.
Yeah.
Kappa.
That's a prime example of that, actually. And I think there is a kappa character in that movie, and he's pretty funny, actually. And finally, Happiness of the Katakuris. That is a zombie, romantic, comedy, musical, family drama mashup with all kinds of crazy special effects. There's stop motion, claymation style animation. There's singing and dancing and murder and
Everything.
and, family, of course.
Of all things.
Yeah, family. Just like Visitor Q. But yeah, I mean, there's so many more movies that we could list here. He has a vast filmography. He also made 13 Assassins recently. He's done samurai movies. I think he even did a Zatoichi movie. I mean, Zatoichi, like, if you know anything about The Blind Swordsman.
I don't
Never
know
seen
about
that.
that.
No.
Oh, guys, come on, man. Like, if you know anything about Japanese culture or even anime culture, like, you got to get into, like, Chanbari movies, man. But with Ichi the Killer, there's just a cloud of pure cruelty and violence and loss and just outright negativity throughout this movie, but it never feels like a drag on your conscience or anything, because everything is just so cartoonish and so exaggerated that while it's all well done, it's very hard to really take seriously in this movie. What do y'all think?
I don't think it takes itself seriously. It's so over the top, and even not just the violence, but even some of the plot points just kind of over the top is the only way I can say it. It's kind of like a distorted version of reality, just a slightly more unbelievable than our own.
Yeah.
Slightly
bit.
less believable.
Less believable. Did I say more believable?
Yeah, you said more believable.
I meant less believable. Slightly less believable.
I don't think that I want
Yeah.
this reality to be more believable.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's just lots of horrible stuff that happens here.
Yeah.
But it's all done within the context of, you know, what these characters want, what their motivations are, and where it actually takes them, if y'all know what I mean. I mean, the violence is very deliberate, but it doesn't revel in any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It knows it's over the top, like Ash said, but it's like it just kind of acts like that's normal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just the normal flow of the film. Like for instance, the torture scene,
tortures,
the
yeah.
torture scene with what was his name, Suzuki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this motherfucker is suspended with goddamn hooks. Like if anybody knows anything about body modification or anything like that, like that's kind of where that comes from. That's another fetishy kind of thing here.
I know Chris Angel, he did a episode once where he hung by hooks on his back.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think you're right.
There are people that go out and go to conventions and they do that as kind of performance art, more or less. And it's very extreme. It's not for the squeamish, but it's very interesting actually.
So
But here in this scene, it's used basically to just incapacitate this dude Suzuki, and also to just undercut Kakihara's character. Because Kakihara has just a singular motivation. He wants his boss back. And he wants his boss back because he's the only one that can really give him the type of pain/pleasure that, as a sadomasochist, he wants. He needs.
there's so many BDSM vibes with Kakihara and his torture methods and his sadomasochism.
Ichi too.
A little bit, but this movie in a way is kind of an exposition of Kakihara's mind and his attitude. And the protagonist Ichi takes more of a supporting role.
Yeah, he's not really the main character of this movie. And the violence involved with Ichi, it's more emotional. It's very much tied to the fact that he's just this broken, manipulated, brainwashed kid that got caught up in some fucked up shit. You know, he killed his parents. This character named Gigi, who is played by Shinya Tsukamoto, director of Tetsuo the Iron Man. Great movie, by the way. And the violence that comes out is very guttural to me. You know, I mean, it's just coming from straight inside. You see it build up, and then he just lashes out. I mean, he's a wounded animal.
Yeah.
In a way.
The cinematography is crazy.
And
the cinematography used, it is insane.
So the Totilier character, we kind of are introduced to his emotions and his motivations, but in a way, these are just set up as a foil to Kakihara's ambitions.
Exactly, because his ambition is to feel the greatest pain/pleasure that he can find. You know, at first, like I said, Anjo was the one who gave him that initially, but when Ichi killed Anjo, it just kind of gave Kakihara this new drive that, you know, it just led him to this new experience that he hadn't felt before. You know, and he wanted it, but in the end, he doesn't get it. It's a letdown.
He even runs away from Ichi. He's like scared of him, and he makes a point on that. He says, "I'm scared of them," and it's amazing. I love the thrill of being scared.
Yeah, because there's very little that scares this guy. This guy has a Glasgow grin. He has obvious scars. He needs to be literally pretty much beat up in order to feel anything.
He's got gills on his cheek too. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. The Glasgow grin.
Oh God.
Once again, another direct indication that might have inspired Heath Ledger's The Joker.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there is something very sadistic about the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I almost expected him to actually really torture somebody in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of does that to Homeboy on top of of that pile of cash, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, by lighting him on fire.
Yeah, you're right.
That's actually a pretty disturbing scene, and that's something that could very well have come from a Takashi Miike movie when you think about it.
And his sadism is pretty prevalent from the first scene that he's in, but you don't get to see the masochism until, you know, that next scene where he cuts off his own tongue, and then you realize, okay, this guy gives no fucks.
No, he has nothing really to lose, honestly. I mean, even if they kill him, they can't really get to him because pain is pleasure to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they could torture him all they want. Like he won't talk. I mean, in many ways, he's the ultimate Yakuza.
Yeah. And they demand retribution from him, and Homeboy offers up his own tongue right in front of them, cuts off the tip of his tongue, and gives it to them.
And this is like fucked up enough to squick out like hardcore like made men yakuza.
Yeah.
You know, like real made men.
そのわけに甘いもの立たしてもらいますよ。甘いもの？ああ、ごめんごめん。はいしゃん。大丈夫です。ごめんね。いや、すぐ行きます。いや、すみません。僕、親探さなきゃいけないんで行きますよ。
These aren't the dudes in tracksuits that you usually see in whenever Yakuza are represented. It's like these are the dudes, they have their suit. They probably already have their back tattoo and everything. They have it almost finished. It's like these are the real deal. And Kakihara just fucked with them hardcore. Even let that sickly boss, the syndicate boss, to go up and just go, and just fall over. It was like that elicited a reaction out of these guys.
Oh yeah, really, they lost their minds looking at it.
Or with the
Just never seen that before.
The torture scene where he stuck the needles right in his face.
Oh god,
Made like a triangle, dude.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, he's pretty much throwing those things into him.
Oh, that was crazy.
And no movie before have I ever felt so uncomfortable and so like my cheeks kept hurting and my tongue was hurting and my eardrums were hurting. I was like, I was just wincing so much.
Me, I was just laughing the entire time because this is like the 300th time I've seen this movie. Like this is another one of those movies that I know like the back of my hand.
Second time for me.
Yeah, it's the second time for Robert. He didn't actually go through the entire movie the first time we watched it, but the second time we watched it, I mean, the ending, it was pretty mind-blowing, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But, Robert, what did you think of the actual violence and gore in this movie? What did you think of that?
I thought it was more like, the first Hostel, really.
Yeah. Well, this movie was very much a direct influence on Eli Roth.
Yeah.
He actually does an interview on the DVD that I have.
Hell yeah, man.
And he was like, yeah, I mean, this movie and Audition pretty much shaped Hostel in so many ways. I mean, there was even a little bit of a gangster element to Hostel. Because remember, that was being run by the Russian mob.
Yeah.
So there's that parallel as well.
Second Hostel, too.
Yeah, that one was really fucked up.
Oh, it was, man.
The bathroom scene. Jesus Christ. And what do you guys think about the gore effects? I mean, what was the most memorable effect that stood out to you, and where do you think Takashi Miike was actually going with it?
Neck scenes.
Yeah, the arterial spray.
Oh god.
Oh
yeah. That was very iconic. Actually, that's actually what's very iconic about this movie is just the amounts of blood that just spews out of certain people. Like Kaneko at the end of the movie, whenever he shoots Ichi in the leg, and then of course Ichi with his violence being based around his emotions, he lashes out. He kicks him and he kills him, and that was a fuck ton of blood. It wasn't like Dead Alive or
No.
Rikio levels of blood,
No,
but
this was ridiculous. It was crazy though.
yeah, he was bleeding out hardcore.
I mean, it was spraying. I mean, it was
It
definitely
wasn't
exaggerated.
This time it wasn't so much spraying; it was just pouring out.
like-
Oh yeah.
Carotid arteries, man. Just sever that artery.
Pretty much severed both of them.
Yeah.
His jugular, all of that.
Ooh.
But y'all are forgetting one of the most interesting parts, which is Ichi's fighting style.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he is. It's very much karate do, but it's
Well-
very very kick based.
He has foot blades.
Yeah, his foot blades. Yeah, it's all based in his foot, and he actually slices a dude in half like lengthwise
Yeah.
with
But
one
no-
kick, which really shouldn't be possible, of course. But once again, that just shows how exaggerated and cartoonish the violence is, just like we said.
Oh yes. And they also talked about torturing a guy by slicing his man parts in half lengthways.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
and
way down the middle.
in the manga they actually show that.
Oh no.
Yeah, they
I don't even want
actually
to hear about it, much less see it.
Oh.
yeah they actually go there.
God. I didn't even have to see it in the movie because I was wincing inside already.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit.
And they implied the genital mutilation with Suzuki also.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. He was Kakihara was taking his signature blades. You know, once again, this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is another Takashi Miike movie where the weapon is decidedly kind of feminine in a way. They're very, very sleek and small blades.
Interesting.
You
It
know,
was like Senbon kind of.
something like that. They were like skewers that are
Skewers.
just really, really, really sharpened.
Metal skewers.
Painful.
Which he
No.
right in his
Yeah,
ears.
right in his
Pop his
eardrums
eardrums.
near the
Oh,
end.
God.
Yeah,
Oh
the guy's
yeah.
face when he throws them at him. Oh. Imagine getting these sharp blades thrown into your face
Oh.
from like 50 feet away.
That's terrifying, dude. Seriously. Now, what's interesting about the violence and also how it plays into the music is that there's always this real sense of urgency throughout all of it. And it really builds the overall tension of this movie. I mean, by no means is this a slow burn, but I mean, it really, really allows the pacing to kind of have an ebb and flow and kind of breathe every now and again, you know? Like there are some scenes where there's a little bit of quiet here and there.
Oh, there's some great scenes. The cinematography is beautiful. You know, there's one scene with Gigi where his face is completely. He doesn't say anything, and you can just only see his face in the shot, and
Yeah.
you know every emotion he's feeling.
Yeah, you're talking about near the very end when he comes up on Kakihara's body after he.
You see confusion, you see humor, irony, and then like worry in his face. You know?
You also see victory for a little
Victory,
bit.
yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
see. First, you see victory, then you see like jubilation, then you see like concern, and then he looks closer and he's like, "Oh shit!" Then he looks up and he comes to the realization, like, "Damn it, I lost Ichi, didn't I?" He pretty much killed his entire crew.
Well, Ichi's fate is left ambiguous. Actually, we don't know what happened to Ichi. He was
Implication,
kicked by a kid a few times. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm pretty sure the kid probably kicked Ichi to death.
because he was willing to kill Gigi at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was another implied moment right there. Was the very end when you see what looks like an older version of that kid.
Yeah, he looks back, and that's the very last thing you see in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
That's
Gigi
crazy.
hanging.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened right at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just kind of a comeuppance for Gigi more than anything. That's what I kind of take it as.
Kind of like a skip forward. This is what eventually happens to Gigi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it just shows that there were no heroes and there were no real victors in any of this.
Yeah.
It was all just a pointless cycle of violence that just didn't stop. And it continues on. It's implied to continue on with Takeshi, who is
Takeshi,
Kaneko's son. Now, Robert, as an aspiring filmmaker, how did you feel about the scenes of violence and depravity when it came to a cinematic angle? Like how they were shot, how they were staged? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Mostly lighting, right?
What kind of lighting do you think it reminds you of?
I don't know, I'm seeing a lot of Mandy for some reason, but
Which is weird
that
because
old feeling from like the 70s is what it reminded me of. You know, like yellow lighting, and
yeah, it does have a little bit of a washed out feel to it, kind of, sort of.
it's like I'm watching an old Japanese movie, and this is like 2001, right?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, Audition has a kind of a similar feel to it. It also uses color to kind of, as motifs, to kind of foreshadow what's going on. And this movie is no different, really. Like, I mean, there is a lot of lot of red throughout
Yeah,
the movie,
I was
which
gonna
is
say red.
especially with the bloodiness of it. I mean, it kind of underscores just the continuous violence throughout. You know,
Yeah.
and
Red is symbolic for multiple things, like you said. when we
Danger,
watched
yeah.
it.
mostly, and like
Yeah,
blue
danger,
is safe or something.
blood,
Yeah.
everything.
yeah, exactly. And I thought that the actual staging of the gore, like especially in the apartment in the aftermath of Ichi's massacre, it's like that was very, very deliberate in
Oh,
many
yeah.
ways. Like,
The
I mean,
stage, the whole setup was crazy.
yeah, it was basically literally a river of blood and guts.
Mm.
But the way that it was placed,
All
I mean,
over the room.
it wasn't haphazard. It almost, I mean, it felt very, very connected in a way.
like a scene out of Dexter or something.
Deliberate.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the gore effects, Dakota, you and I, we're the resident gamers here, resident game podcasters, right?
Yeah.
What does that remind you of, the violence in this movie?
Oh, I don't even know.
I'm thinking Mortal Kombat.
Oh, of course.
Resident Evil bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Resident Evil, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, definitely kind of a Resident Evil vibe to it, but let's see. Let me
Dead
think.
Island.
Dead Island, maybe.
I was just thinking with like
Left 4
the,
Dead.
the over-the-top gore,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat comes to mind.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
The ripping of guts, you know.
But I mean, especially with the CGI violence, it
Mhm.
really has a video game feel to it.
Yeah. And Homeboy's straight up playing video games, you remember? He's
Yeah.
playing, I think, Street Fighter.
No, he's playing Tekken 2.
Tekken.
Tekken.
Either Tekken 2 or
yes.
Tekken 3. I think by that time Tekken 3 had been out for a little while.
Yeah.
So
Damn it, I call myself the resident gamer and I mistook
know.
the game.
that's right. We own Collateral Gaming now.
Oh.
You little bastards.
Well, I haven't actually played Tekken, so
What?
I haven't played
Robert,
Tekken.
you hearing this shit?
I've at least played like Tekken 4.
I have Tekken 2 and Tekken 3 up at the house right now. You
Tekken
get a
3 with
PlayStation?
Liam Neeson?
Oh my god.
That was good.
Some Tekken.
God damn it. You're already making dad jokes. You're not even a dad yet. Damn it. Son of a bitch.
I'm working on my dad bod and my dad jokes.
Shit.
Don't be fooled. I gave him a dad jokes book for Christmas.
Oh, shit. Oh, man, we're going to be hearing this on the podcast for eternity, aren't we?
Yeah. For
Damn
those of
it.
y'all that don't know, I am having a daughter soon,
Woo.
coming in the
Yep.
summer. So she'll definitely be a part of the podcast at some point. We'll do something in some way.
Actually, Chaz Rab, who he does the Trial by Error variety show, he actually did an episode where he put his kids on the podcast and did like just a little kid-friendly podcast.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cute. I mean, I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, our podcast isn't very family friendly at the moment. It's not very child friendly.
Nope.
I remember deliberately telling our cousin Will he couldn't be a part of the podcast.
Yeah.
He couldn't even listen to the podcast. It wasn't really his avenue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we're starting at the game podcast, and Will asked us, hey, can I join? I was like, whoa, hold on a second, buddy.
Now, in this movie, there's overlying themes of loss, of addiction, like bodily fluids are a recurring motif, like obviously with the blood, but also with the semen, which at the beginning of this movie, the actual title of the film comes out of a puddle of semen.
It like bubbles up a little bit and then it just like comes out of it. Oh,
Gonna
God.
start left
How
your
is that
asshole.
for a cum shot?
Oh, God damn it.
That is the funniest shit ever.
Man, I mean, supposedly, I guess that was real semen of some kind,
Yeah, they
right?
said it was right. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So did they jack off a horse? Did they get 8 guys to jack off into a cub? How did this go down?
And this is why it's not kid friendly.
Yeah, exactly. This right here. These are the avenues that we take this podcast in. It's incredible.
Well, you have to with this movie. I mean, if you've seen it, you'll understand. I mean, you get
Well,
worried when you watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you just don't know what's around the corner next. I mean, there's lots of sexual assault in this movie.
You don't watch this movie with your parents.
No. and
Oh, no.
the sexual assault itself is kind of understated in many ways.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as, it's not shown in a great light, but it's not really shown in a way that, really, really makes it terrifying to me.
I mean, any further and it would be pornographic.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. But I mean, if you compare it to like the infamous rape scene in Irreversible, I mean, that's a very raw, visceral, and emotional experience. And these scenes of sexual assault, I mean, and I'm not saying that, this is a good thing or anything, I mean, they're very, it's very sterile almost,
Yeah.
and there's been some debate about this film about whether it's feminist or misogynist, whether these rape scenes are glorified, you know, as kind of a male fantasy, or if it's kind of a statement, you know, a criticism of the male empowerment.
うちらが来た時にはもうこいつ自分でこの中入ってたんですよ。逃げないようにテープ巻いておきましたから。
じじいはどこだ。
なんだこれ。頭、これうちの事務所ですよ。
こんなもんありました。よし。お前ら親父さらったのか。親父はどこだ。
教えてやっからよ。その前に薬くれ。
親父はどこだっつって。
とっくに土ん中だ。薬くんねんだったらさっさと殺せよ。鍵原の兄貴。
お前誰だ。
どうせ殺すんだろ。だったらさっさとやれよ。鍵原の兄貴よ。
お前可能か。
ピンポン。
可能？てめえ可能か。顔が違うじゃねえか。
お前が親父やったのかよ。
やったのはイチ。
なんだよそのイチってのは。
俺は後始末しただけだ。次のターゲット兄貴。あんたらしいぜ。あんた安城にベタボラだったもんな。同性愛とか男気に惚れたとかそんなんじゃねえや。ただ単純によ、安城を与える暴力が痛みを愛してたんだ。それが忘れらんなくてよ、あいつのこと探してんじゃねえの？お
I think it's the latter, definitely.
I think so too, but I think more than that, even it's just realistic, you know?
Yeah, it is very realistic. I mean, rape is not a fun subject to broach. I mean,
but it is a thing. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
Of course. And this movie does not sugarcoat it in any way.
I was gonna say like Wes Craven's Last House on the Left, right? Remember that?
Yeah, or even further, I Spit on Your Grave, which the first half of that movie is pretty much like almost a 30-minute rape scene. Pretty much, it's just humiliation, and it's not a fun movie to watch at all. Like, it's very gross.
Hey, Robert, you have a film coming out called First House on the Right, right?
Second House from the Left.
Oh, second house from the left.
Second house
whatever
from
you want to make it.
Second house from the left of Elm Street. And Camp Crystal Lake.
The final nightmare. The final chapter nightmare.
Damn it.
That makes me think of Fable 3 again.
Oh,
the map.
God.
The last house on the right.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the houses on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the cruelty throughout this movie, it's also very much an undercurrent, and it's kind of played to comedic effect in some ways, don't you think?
Yeah, kind of like a dark humor.
Yeah.
And some people couldn't stomach this movie, and I don't think because the gore was too much, because there's some things that are gorier than this, but it's the cruelty, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also how, how banal it all is within the universe of the movie. I mean, it's just a part of life in the world of Ichi the Killer.
It shows the low morality of some people.
But it also kind of stickler to the audience once when it comes to Kaneko. Because, I mean, he doesn't exhibit any real signs of having a really cruel or sadistic nature or anything, but the Chinese prostitute that Jiro, Saburo, and Kakihara, they torture her. and they rape her pretty much.
Oh,
He
just
he tries.
beat the hell out of her.
He
first,
beats the
right?
fuck out of her, just out of nowhere. We're led to believe that this is a very morally upstanding character, who is kind of disgusted by what's going on, kind of like his superior.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name, but he's the one Yakuza dude who's very thoroughly disgusted with what's going on here.
Well,
He's just like, God damn it, man! We brought this on ourselves.
There's no heroes in this film.
No heroes. Yeah, that's what I told you guys. There is no heroes in this film, and that scene completely just hammers that home.
Oh, yeah.
And Miike, he said that was specifically a betrayal to the audience. He wanted to just kind of experiment with how that character arc came out. I mean, I'm not really sure if that's what happens in the manga. And if it does happen in the manga, I'm sure it's shown in a very different light than how he actually shot it.
Of course, manga tend to run for a while, so I imagine how much of this was shortened for the adaptation. It's very hard to make a single adaptation out of a manga because this is mostly one story arc. I wonder how much of that is directly from the manga and how much of it is, like a condensed.
Yeah, I mean, adaptations could always be very sticky like that, especially with anime and manga. I mean, there's very few movies that really stick it. Like good example is the recent Ghost in the Shell movie. Like, if you ever seen Ghost in the Shell or Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, I mean, that movie, it has shades of it, but it's also very much a pale comparison. And they even take some iconic scenes from that anime and put it in the movie, and it still doesn't work.
Still doesn't. Yeah.
It's like a Hollywood version.
Yeah, it's very bowdlerized. I think that's the term for it.
I liked it okay though. Ghost in the Shell, the movie, and I don't remember very much of the anime. The one I didn't like recently was Death Note, nearly as much. It didn't.
Yeah.
It was like a shell of the complexity of the manga, and it was so much more exploitative that it wasn't anything that resembled the anime.
What do you think of what do you think of the Japanese live action movies?
I've heard those are pretty good. I've seen some bits and pieces of those, and those are kind of fun. It's another instance where you see kind of the over exaggeration that's present in an anime, and you see it translated to screen, and it's a little odd.
Yeah, it still has the grandiosity, but I mean, it also nails all the different idiosyncrasies of each character, like especially L.
Yeah.
And he, I mean, I've never really read the manga for Ichi the Killer, but I mean, for one, it's way more graphic, of course, But two, I mean, I think the characters are a bit less realized probably in that one. But I mean, once again, don't quote me on that. But I mean, that's kind of what it seems from the little bit of the manga that I have read online, is that, I mean, the characters, like Takashi Miike really fleshes these characters out a little better.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow, even with
does.
less time.
Yeah, with less time. Like, I mean, the production schedule for this movie, I mean, I think they only took like 52 days to make this.
Wow, really?
Wow.
I mean, once again, don't quote me on that. I think I remember hearing that from one of the interviews on the feature disc.
Wow.
It's a long movie too.
It is. It's a very long movie. Yeah.
Version. There is the rated version too. Right?
Yeah, there is a rated version with 11 minutes cut out of it.
R-rated version.
I have both versions of it. I can't stand the R-rated cut.
Now, I also heard that the original writer of the manga, was it Hideo Yamamoto or something?
I don't really remember. Like, this is why you have that laptop, Dakota.
Yeah.
Search it.
Fact check that for me. But anyway, the writer of the manga, he was hired to do the screenplay in manga format.
And it didn't actually work out, though.
No, he said he wasn't able to jive with it, but another guy ended up doing the screenplay after him. I don't remember his name, but
yeah.
It turned out great. I mean,
I think it was one of the guys. He ended up being a character in Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It was Charlie Brown in Kill Bill.
Yeah. That's who he was.
Yeah. So, but imagine how interesting it would have been if that had happened with the screenplay. Do you think the film would have been different?
I think it probably wouldn't have had the same dreamlike structure throughout. Because, I mean, there is a little bit of a dreamlike quality to this, and even kind of a mind screw near the end, kind of. But and I have a feeling that had it been fleshed out like that, it probably wouldn't have made as much sense.
Right. And that is another interesting point you brought up, is that the flashback sequences in this movie are actually implanted memories in Ichi's mind. And you're kind of clued into that because the screen is fuzzy and a little differently toned. And so once it comes full circle and you realize those are implanted memories, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But also the cinematography of that is also kind of a misdirection because at first you think that is legitimately Ichi's memory, and it makes sense that it would be kind of fuzzy and fucked up like that because that's just how he sees in his mind. But when you actually find out what that memory actually is, that it's Karen's memory.
Her memory. Yeah.
Like she was Miss Tachibana, essentially. And Ichi wasn't even there. I mean, then it becomes it becomes traumatic. It's like that's being viewed through the lens of a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Then, but from the view of the rape victim.
Yeah.
There.
Well, you see the idea that Gigi implanted those memories in Ichi. You know, her memories. It's
Right.
crazy.
So in his mind, it would still, I think, be fuzzy because it's foreign.
Yes.
Either that or was it fuzzy from her view? Because if that was the case, then it may be because of the trauma.
It was.
She couldn't see him either, right?
No. Like remember there was that one flash before Ichi kills her where she finally realized, oh God, it's like that was me.
Oh, but memory.
But Ichi wasn't there. It's my memory.
Yeah.
I'm Miss Tachibana.
She forgot that she actually was
the
girl, which means that memory was repressed. So it's fuzzy because it was so traumatic that she repressed the memory.
Or more accurately, Gigi's hypnosis probably repressed it.
That's true. That
kind
could
of
have
what
been.
I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She probably would have welcomed it. Her mind would have welcomed erasing that.
Yeah.
You know, but then it comes back and she finally realizes too late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the cinematography in this, I mean, speaking of that, it's amazing. There's scenes where the camera's following people, and it's like, or you're walking down hallways, and it's like you're a stalker. You're stalking the victims, the characters in this movie.
Very much so. It does have kind of a creepier feel to it.
And you're the stalker, but at the same time, you know, they cut back to the characters, and there's no one there. And you think that you're a character in the movie for a second there, you know? It's intense.
Well, a great example of that is the Suzuki torture scene. I mean, the actual staging of that with the body modification and then the using the fry oil to just fuck him up.
Yeah, that was miserable.
Okay, if you've ever worked in food service, you know how much that shit hurts. When
Oh,
you burn
that's
yourself.
a special kind of pain. I've actually dipped a finger in a fryer before.
Yeah.
First you feel just straight up cold, and then the burning starts.
That's how you know it's
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Oh my god.
That's how you know you fucked up.
Well, your meat's
Like
actually being cooked.
Yeah, my pointer finger on my right hand just dipped it straight in. Ooh,
The calm before the storm is the cold.
Did you eat paint chips as a child, Bo?
No, I didn't. It was an accident, bro.
You said I dipped it, so it
Christ.
sounded intentional.
Were you trying to see if it was cold or hot? Or?
No, I was just reaching for a basket, I guess, and I guess I just misjudged the distance or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how it
Long
happened.
time ago.
How old were you when you dipped your finger in fire?
I don't know. I was maybe mid-20s. I don't know.
Okay. I was picturing this kid, and then there's these parents that are like, "Bet you won't do that shit again."
Yeah, my boss was pretty much like, "Well, you're not gonna do that shit again." Nope.
I think that's the kind of dad I'm gonna be, because there's two types of parents. There's the kind that are like, "Oh, sweetie, are you okay?" And then there's the kind that's like, "Bet you won't do that shit again."
Yeah.
That's gonna be me.
Tough love.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the cinematography, we brought up the color grading in this movie. Of course, there's lots of reds, but also, depending on what kind of scene we're watching, the color grading kind of changes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the flashbacks were blue.
Yeah, the flashback was definitely blue, and that was more of a hallucination, though.
Yeah.
That
You're
was
right.
Kakihara hallucinating Ichi fighting him because he was just in such despair that Ichi just wasn't who he thought he was. You know, he wasn't the bringer of pain that he thought he would be.
That is the ultimate mindfuck, I think, in this movie is the climax or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Because less in a sense of a mindfuck within the universe of the story, but more a sense of a mindfuck in the way you perceive a 3-arc story, you know?
Yeah.
And the way in which you envision this, rising action, falling action, climax scenario, and it just completely fucks with your perception of that because you expect something and then you don't get it. And I think that it makes some of the other mindfucks seem more superficial because this one just screws with your ability to predict a plot.
Anticlimactic a bit.
Well, yeah, I think that's ultimately kind of tying back to one of the essential themes throughout this movie, which are, needing something and then having that not being fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happens to Kakihara, and subsequently that happens to us, the audience. He's expecting Ichi to be this brutal, fucked up motherfucker who just loves fighting and killing, but he's just this weak little man-child that is broken and manipulated into doing what he's doing. Like I said, I mean, it's just this more realistic approach to violence versus this emotional approach to violence. Like I said, Ichi's violence is more emotionally grounded.
Yeah.
Even though he's a side character, in some ways you still want to feel something for him. You want to feel some sympathy, but
each time you get the chance to, it just drops it again.
It drops it again. Each time. It completely upends your expectations with it. I mean, you want to believe that maybe Karen visiting him might snap him out of it, but instead
just makes it worse.
It just makes it worse. He just goes further into his little world of death and violence and sexual repression and everything,
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, you see him save the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, great, he saved her. He killed the guy. I mean, he killed him like brutally, but he saved her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
then his dialogue with her afterwards, he's just like, now I'm going to be the one who beats you and rapes you.
Yeah. And then she kind of takes it as that sounds great. And then bolt out of there the first chance she gets.
Yeah. But no, she decides to attack him.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Bad mistake.
Oh no.
Because he just wants that.
That and Karen trying to seduce him.
Yes.
No, not at all. And the color grading in that scene, it seems like the colors were a little more sharp in that particular scene. Like especially in a lot of the scenes involving Ichi, the violence is very much colorful in a way. Versus Kakihara, which is a little dingier and dirtier. Whenever his scenes or whenever he's being violent.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when he's being violent, it's like in some basement or in some kind of tucked away little sex dungeon or whatever,
Oh, man.
Well, I think Ichi at heart is more pure of a character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand anything of what he's doing. He's just been manipulated, and
But eventually it still becomes part of his psyche, and eventually he does just lose it. you know?
right. But that I think that the sharpness kind of emphasizes that purity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They give you this sense that it's almost been done multiple times before. That he's like been this way. He's killed people for Gigi.
Yeah.
Multiple times before that we've seen this. They give us that implication.
But and all of this is building up to Gigi's ultimate plan, which is pretty much to
Fuck shit up.
fuck shit up as far as the Yakuza is concerned, namely the Anjo gang.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting that he specifically targets just that particular gang and not the syndicate as a whole. I mean, of course, we're never really shown whether or not they have a history of doing this to members of the syndicate, but it's interesting to me that it's just this one particular clan of Yakuza and just this one particular part of Shinjuku that they're not small time, but they're big enough that, you know, people around there will cower to them.
Oh yeah.
You know. Now, how do y'all feel the color grading influences the acts of like sexual violence?
When he kills that girl in the beginning that was raped, it's kind of like a pink vibe almost.
Yeah, it has
reddish
a pink. It's a reddish pink kind of quality, and
almost like love but hatred at the same time.
And
it's weird.
A lot of Mandy, right? Remember that?
Mandy was interesting, but remember, Mandy came out many years afterwards, so this would be more. That would probably take influence from
last year, right?
Ichi the Killer. Yeah.
And what was that other one we saw? Same director.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Yeah, Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh, that's going to be a future episode, probably in another season.
Christ.
That
Too
is
many movies, man.
such a
Too
fucking.
many.
Oh, guys, you have no idea.
Great cinematography. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like every time we do a podcast, we think of like 4 to 5 movies off the bat just while we're recording. Not to mention the time before or after we record.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, the use of color, it just makes the violence kind of flow a little better. It really pops out. The effects pop out a little better. And I really like the way that Miike he really specifically did it for this movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really kind of undercut the anime/manga vibe, I think. Or maybe undercut's the wrong word, maybe to accentuate it, to bring it up a little bit. You know, it makes it cartoony, and that's why, you know, the violence, it doesn't ever really drag on you. You know, it doesn't weigh you down.
The movie embraces that feeling.
It embraces that feeling, and it does so in a gleeful manner, and it just makes it a little less disturbing, I think.
I don't know. I've been thinking about that one scene. You know, I just want to fuck.
Yeah, that's Gigi's crew members who he totally fucks over.
Yes.
He fucks them over hardcore. Like he's the one that gives his prostitute girlfriend over to Jiro and Saburo.
That was a really interesting character because you almost want to sympathize with him for a minute. You almost start to see him as a normal character, and you want to follow his story, but he just wants to fuck.
He just wants to fuck. Exactly.
We can all relate to that.
See, that's another time where we're let down.
Exactly.
The character is let down. He gets up to this rising point. You think he's gonna fuck, and then it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
It never happens.
He's denied. He's denied the pleasure that he needs. And then there's also, you know, the heroin addict. He eventually is in a point where Gigi just fucks him over and doesn't give him his fix. So he doesn't get what he needs either. You know, he doesn't get his fix. Kakihara doesn't get his painful pleasure. Ichi doesn't actually get to avenge anything.
You're right. And even Ichi.
Yeah,
same thing.
And Kaneko just wants to, you know, he just wants to kill Ichi, and even he fails.
Yeah,
failure is an underpinning theme of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, Gigi, same thing. He wants to kill Kakihara, but he actually ends up killing himself. So it's like there's this letdown.
Yeah,
but also this irony at the same time.
And we never really know what the real point is of what Gigi's trying to do.
Yeah, you're right there.
I think he's just trying to create a conflict.
Fuck shit up.
You know?
Basically, he's just kind of a nihilist, kind of like Joker in Dark Knight, just wants to watch the world burn, kind of.
I mean, he's dressed in purple, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He is. Like, you're talking about Kakihara?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I think that the Joker. I think the Joker influence. It is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it.
It's either that, or maybe he justifies it and thinks he's doing some good by causing turmoil amongst gangs and bringing them down.
I think that there is kind of a little bit of a point there. I guess I don't know. Now, the music that was used in this movie, it's always very, very tense. It always feels like more like a volume swell than anything. Like there's this one track where it's just a drummer just doing a little drum roll, and there's just all these other noises that start building up, and you just want to know what happens next. You know? It makes you want to see the next scene.
Yeah, well, 90% of the movie, there's a snare drum beat in the background.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a snare. It just
or the main theme song of this movie, it has more of a tribal drum sound to it. It's very percussive. And the vocals are very much like just yelling kind of off tempo a little bit, you know.
You're right. It's kind of chaotic, but like a good chaotic.
But even then, there's also a part of the score that sounds like an Ennio Morricone trumpet style vibe. It almost sounds like The Godfather kind of, right?
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yeah, it sounds like the Godfather theme a little bit.
Marlon Brando.
And also the sound design just makes the gore better and it makes the torture better. Like the Suzuki torture scene, that sizzling sound. That's so perfect. So perfect. And not to mention the dub, which interestingly enough is done by British people.
Yeah.
Of all things.
Those letters, man.
Which gives it an interesting vibe, I think.
We watched it in the British dub. And it was interesting because the reason for that, we find out, is because the movie first aired, the first place it aired internationally, you know, outside of Japan was Britain.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why we have the British dub. And watching it in that way, I think just enhanced our experience so much more. Just like with Rikio, just watching the dub is part of it.
Yeah, it just makes that much more special.
あ、ちょっとあと言い忘れたんですけど、なんだよ。安城組は俺が引き継ぎますから。
頭、全然ですか？
ああ、そうだよ。今から新宿中敵に回すからよ。抜けたやつがいたら今のうち言えよ。
すいません。お言葉に甘えて自分杯返させていただきます。
そうか。
Now, a lot of people will find this movie disturbing in some way, I'm sure. Like me personally, I don't think it's that disturbing. And I know I've said that before about certain movies, but I don't really find it to be that squicky. I mean, the nipple scene doesn't get any better every time I see it.
I
But
forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's a very, very squicky scene. I remember the first time I saw that, I cringed hard.
Yeah. Don't listen to Bo. This movie is disturbing.
On a chalkboard.
Yeah. But what to you guys? What is the most disturbing and gory things y'all have ever really seen in a movie?
Wow.
Just in any movie, period.
The most disturbing movie I think I saw was Gummo, just because of the undertones, you know, the unsettling feeling throughout it.
Yeah, definitely. That one just really kind of puts you into the minds of some really fucked up people who have no hope and no escape.
Oh man, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Check that episode out too, guys.
Yeah, that episode is great.
Yeah.
Episode 11. Dakota. How about?
There was a movie that came out. It wasn't that disturbing, but it gave me the sense of like movies are willing to do anything. But I saw Unfriended. It was a movie about like a Skype call. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
It was a more recent movie, but it was a movie about a Skype call, and they're all like, the Skype call gets haunted by, you know, the ghost of some other character, some other person, and it's really interesting because she like controls people, and you'll see like there was one scene where a girl put a curling iron down her own throat.
Ooh, damn!
And she burns herself to death with that. One guy gets his hand shoved in a blender while he's making salsa. It's just it's
Oh,
you think
nice.
of these scenes and you're like, oh, you start to hurt.
How about you, Robert?
Probably that one movie we just got done watching with Eddie Furlong. Remember?
Oh,
What was that?
Eddie Furlong. What movie are you talking about?
It's like video games or something.
Oh, you're talking
too.
about Brain Scan.
Brain Scan.
Oh,
Those
Brain
scenes were
Scan.
fucking crazy, dude.
Oh, Brain Scan is such a classic.
Yeah.
That's an all-time classic, right
He was like
there.
a wizard or something. That dude was like a.
Something like that. He was some weird video game character that could travel into the real world or something like that. I know you guys probably haven't seen it, but it is interesting.
He was a trickster, right?
Yeah, he was a trickster. Yeah, that's pretty much what he was.
It
He was
goes
a
back
trickster
to old
character.
folklore
Did you
stuff.
say
like
the wizard?
Oh, California. But for me, I've seen quite a few really disturbing movies, and I've seen some shit. But I think that the one movie that probably affected me the most in so many ways was probably a movie by Gaspar Noé called Enter the Void. It's this almost 3-hour long just trip into the afterlife from the perspective of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And there's copious amounts of DMT involved, and there's some really, really, really just gut-wrenching scenes in that movie. And the end is just amazing. It's a very colorfully made movie. I mean, it has an amazing soundtrack. It has a lot of really, really, really awesome first-person shots.
That sounds good. Well, I searched up that movie that you just showed me, Brain Scan, and that looks.
Oh, that movie is fun.
I'd watch that. We should do that for podcast.
I
was
that's
just
a
looking
fun
at pictures. I mean,
that's a fun movie.
Oh, you guys are gonna like that. It's like a
Yeah.
video game first-person killer type of thing.
It's awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
But it's actually real.
Yeah, but I mean, I've also seen movies like Martyrs, which we're going to be doing later this season. Prepare yourselves for that, guys.
God.
That's kind of one of the heavy bags there.
Or Insidious is pretty fucked up.
Insidious
Like all
can
three
be
of them.
pretty
yeah.
fucked up.
Chapter 3.
I saw chapter 3. Ooh.
That's fucked
I've
up.
heard that Hereditary is an absolute gut punch. Like, I haven't seen it yet. I heard that it really just kind of gets to you on a very deep, basic emotional level.
What about a Serbian film?
I have not seen that movie.
Me either.
I am going to eventually see it. I don't know if I want to watch it with any of you motherfuckers.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe it is best taken in a group because it's pretty hardcore, man.
Yeah.
It's very hardcore. I mean, it's not August Underground hardcore, which is pretty much just a simulated snuff film. But, I mean, it deals with snuff film, but it's very more stylized and a lot more well put together. Like, the cinematography in it is very superb, actually. And although, I mean, I want to see that. Like, I mean, we've seen Cannibal Holocaust, right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And as a vegan, the animal cruelty scenes get to me a little bit nowadays. Not that they didn't before, but, you know.
Burial Ground too.
that's more silly to me. It's more like
Yeah,
it
it is
can't be
funny.
Italian stuff.
As a CrossFitter, the fatness in this movie, the way it's portrayed, offends me.
Oh, you don't like the fat shaming?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough. Well, I think that now is the time to go ahead and wrap this up. Final thoughts, guys?
Great movie. I'd watch it one more time.
Be careful. Just be careful.
Yeah. I mean, Robert, elaborate on that. Like, what are you...
How great is it? It's not a movie I would want to watch like over and over again, but maybe
I've seen it so many fucking times. Like, I know this movie like the back of my hand. Is one of those movies. It makes me laugh every time.
Oh, yeah. Throughout the whole thing, you were like, this scene, guys. This scene.
This scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this scene, you got to see this.
they show it to
I
one of your
have
buddies.
I have lots of movies like that, guys.
It's very memorable, but it's one you have to take with caution. Be ready for it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going on, if you're not prepared for it.
Exactly, like Freddy Got Fingered. I
Yeah, it's
when we
ki-
yeah.
first showed it to you guys. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of does have a little bit of that vibe to it,
It's
right?
like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah. All right, Ash, anything else to add?
Yeah, well, this movie, the gore is so fun. It's so funny. It's such a trip, but it's not exploitative at all.
No, it never feels exploitative. I mean, it's like, for instance, going back to the whole argument about whether or not it's a misogynistic movie. I'd say that it's just a movie about misogyny
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with this, but it also, it fucked with me, and I felt this profoundness after it.
Yeah.
you know? So it was definitely an adventure.
Yeah, an adventure to say the least. And like I said, this is not the last Takashi Miike movie I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show y'all Visitor Q next season.
It's more like a trip.
Visitor Q is going to grab you guys by the nuts. Like, honestly.
Like throw on some acid before you.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to do that. Like maybe you want to do that with Enter the Void, but yeah, no. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, this movie is a favorite of mine. I've watched it many, many times over the years. It never gets old for me. I could watch it again. I mean, definitely check it out. I think that it's streaming on Shudder right now. I don't know how much longer it'll be on Shudder, but if you do look for it on DVD, don't get the R-rated version. That has 11 minutes cut out of it, and it's just not nearly as impactful.
Not worth it.
It's just not worth it. Don't even waste your money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or any cut version of any Takashi Miike movie, honestly.
You have to see it exactly as it is.
Yeah, as it was intended to be seen.
Yeah. There's no other way.
You want to say anything, Robert?
We're about ready to wrap up for the next film we're doing.
Yeah, the next film we are doing is going to be fucking epic. It's going to be so much fun. We are doing Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes.
Yes, and we are going to have a special guest with us. We are going to have Mr. Michael Cornwell from the Country Club podcast joining us for that one.
That's good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about the rabbit scene.
Oh man, there's so much good shit. I mean, that's a movie that I have to watch at least once a year.
Oh god, Ash and I can quote that movie. I'm pretty sure. I think we could literally go through the whole script of that movie.
Very nearly most of it.
This episode is going to be great.
Oh yeah.
I think that this episode was great.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can find us on Chill Lover Radio as well. And definitely look for us on Patreon. We are looking for patrons. And we do have commentaries up on our Podbean patron, at least one. It's Tommy Wiseau's The Room. It's the Ash's first intro to the podcast.
Yep, my debut.
It's his debut. So definitely check that out. I think it's like $5 to listen.
Yeah.
I think. And on Patreon, we don't have a whole lot of stuff put up. We're going to get it set up, and we will have live streams there. We will have exclusive polls. Like you guys will get to determine an episode here and there. And also, we're going to have merchandise very, very soon.
Merch, baby.
Exactly.
Bo's got his hat right now.
I got my hat on, this sleek CCMP hat.
Official #1 printed.
Maybe we can make this the first or second tier prize for whoever wants to become a patron.
You get a shirt too, right?
We'll have to work on the shirts. I mean, I just gotta talk with my source on it, you know. But yes, become a patron. We start at $1 a month and go up to $5 or $10 a month. And yes, give us some support, ladies and gentlemen. We definitely would appreciate the help.
We need some feedback too. Always give us feedback in any way you can.
So far,
comments.
so far we have some good reviews on iTunes, and we would like them to keep them coming. So definitely, comment on our Facebook, comment on our Twitter, comment on our Instagram, and ladies and gentlemen, check out our YouTube as well. We're going to have videos up very, very soon.
Just like this one.
Yes, just like this one. We are actually recording this one on video.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Definitely.
There for a second.
Where's that camera? Can the camera see your CCMP merch?
I don't know. Let me turn around.
There you go.
Official Collateral Cinema merchandise.
Exactly. Straight up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up. I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
I'm Ash the Chancellor.
I'm Dakota Chancellor.
Collateral Cinema out. And thank you for the first year of Collateral Cinema.
That's it.
2019.
We did it.
We couldn't do it without you
Applause,
guys.
Applause.
Worked a lot.
I just want to say we couldn't do it without you guys, the viewers. So
Exactly.
keep on.
Yeah.
Laters. Collateral Cinema is an Hill Company production. All music and movie clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only and are fair use. Please don't sue us. We're poor.